Alrighty, Doc here from North America. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. It is TGIM. Thank goodness it's Monday. What do we got going on there? As you can see, the dollar index still staying strong, still in a weekly buy, showing lots of firmness. Interest rates are not dropping. They're just sitting. I guess you could say they literally are stalled. We'll see how they play it out over the next couple of weeks. There's a lot of concern about what to do with the inflation. They as far as the new administration to elect is looking at it. They only see what the policies have been that really generate inflation, and so I guess the market will do like we always say in other situations. They'll wait and see until they actually see proof of good policies, and that's really what it comes down to. But right now, I did see this morning looking like the oil market was still backing off a little bit and starting to flirt again with that weekly sell. We can take a look at that, and let me see what else we got brewing here. It's just a consistent. I understand that there's negotiations going on in a lot of parts of the world for a much more peaceful situation. Mr. Trump is very always interested in making love, not war. He's definitely not into the violence thing, and that's a good thing. Only when necessary. He likes to say he likes to govern. What do they call it? Govern through strength. That's what it comes down to. Crazy. All right, and so from there, let's take a look at the oil market real quick, just because I mentioned it. See how it looks on here this morning. There. Let's check the chat line too at the same time. Where is the chat line? Right there. Heading for the chat line also at the same time. Oop, let's give it a refresh. There we go. And you can see oil doing that same thing on the chart, playing with the weekly this morning, right there. And at the same time, you see the daily is in the second day in its daily sell. So again, that's part of the new administration's policies of that they're going to open up the oil spigots. In other words, they're going to pump much more oil, maybe 3-4 million barrels a day more, something of that nature. And that will be, I've seen all these different studies about how much oil goes into different, products, plates and plastic forks and clothing, and it just goes on and on and on, from all the way down to what do you call that? The fertilizer for the crops. It just goes on and on and on. Oil is in everything. So when you really push up the price of oil, you're really, really hurting everybody, generating an inflation. And that's the objective, is to remove that inflation. That's what it really comes down to more than anything else. All right, and so you can see right there, we're doing that same situation in the oil. Matter of fact, while we're looking around the neighborhood, why don't we go down and take a look at the bond market too? See how they're thinking this morning. I saw them flat earlier this morning, so let's check that out. And we'll look at the 10-year first, right there. Hey, Robin. And there is the, let's make it bigger. Like that. So you can see it's trying to press down again. So as much as they dropped the interest rates officially for a quarter, it's still, if it gets back down to here, then it's kind of been eaten up, kind of swallowed up from whatever they thought they were doing. Obviously, this administration, this Federal Reserve, they've been in some type of odd fantasy land now for 4 years. They don't make a lot of sense. And they don't seem to understand the economy, and they think that they have to actually destroy the economy to get rid of the inflation. Hey. So that is the 10-year That's what supposedly everybody is staring at nowadays. I myself still like to watch the 30-year. I think the 30-year gives us even more insight. Let's check out the 30-year, and that's why we see the dollar index, lifting up still. They're not giving it up because it seems like the place to be. In other words, money likes to go where it can be profitable. And so that's the answer to that whole thing. Let's see, 10-year, 30-year, right there. There's 30-year. It's doing that same thing. It's in the weekly sell. You can see it's trying to get into the daily buy right there. Let's give it a refresh. So you can see right there, it's pushing up. It's pushing up here, but it's in a weekly sell right there. So, it's not, as a matter of fact, it never even got into a weekly buy. It's still been cruising along in that weekly sell. We're seeing that pressure there. From that particular angle, again, and we'll go like this, show you the full screen of this. Same thing. That quarter point drop that started right there, right there. Thursday and Friday, and here's Monday. And they're trying to take away the gain of Friday, and then let's see if they take away the gain of Thursday, which will be like, oh, why do they waste their time doing these things? Now, I can tell you the only benefit that I see out of all this pretending, I guess you could call it, of the interest rate structure is that now it's down 0.75 of a percentage point from where it was 2 months ago. And so that means the government will only pay what the Federal Reserve states the interest is. Not what the market states it is, but just what the Federal Reserve states in it, which is kind of weird. They don't recognize the market. They only recognize the official price. So, all right, from there, let's jump over to, let's see, get rid of that, like that. And then let's take a look at the currency markets themselves. Let's take a look at the euro. And let's see. Here comes the euro. Did it open? It's opening up now. Let's see how the euro looks this morning. Give you a look at it. Okay, there it is. And let's turn on. Yeah, the euro is rolling over again, which helps out Turkey, that's for sure. You can see it's rolling over like that again. It's been in the sell for a bunch of days. It's been in a weekly sell for a while. Obviously, it anticipated the strength of the dollar when everybody else was trying to tell you that it wasn't going to be there. They were talking about the demise of the dollar. King dollar going down the drain. BRICS going to do this and that's going to do that. And in the end result, we will look at a couple of BRICS like the South African rand and the I think we have the what is it, the Indian rupee. We follow the stock market. A lot of times, a lot of these currencies, like in Brazil, you barely can get a quote from the Brazilian rand, but what you can get is a quote for their stock market. So you get a flavor of that, good general idea of that. All right, so that is that. All right, now from there, we go over and we'll look at the cable. Keep on seeing the cable is the stronger one of the two. It's down also, but you can see here it's flirting with a daily buy again, and you can see it didn't go into the daily sell here because of the green and the red. So it went into the buy here, but we're in weekly sell, so it's a neutral. But we know on a day-to-day basis there was an attempt of some strength. And you can see here it didn't make much of a high, and you can see here it's down just a teeny-weeny little bit, and it's trying to climb up. So I imagine we're going to oscillate in between this area like that. There's a lot of, it's going to be a very interesting, I guess 7 weeks, is it? What is it, 8 weeks? We're going to January 20th. That's 3 weeks right there. You got 4 weeks in December. That's 7 weeks right there. And then we've got 2 more weeks or almost 3 weeks. So we have like 9 to 10 weeks before we get the new administration in. But I understand that he is negotiating already, and since he's an experienced former president, he understands the whole process. What an incredible, historic event it all is. All right. From there, we go to the South African Rand. No, I'm sorry. We go right to the Swiss. Saw an interesting article this morning on the Swiss. They were talking about the whole idea of neutrality versus was it neutrality versus NATO, and so being independent, neutral, is so much better for what was it they were saying for Switzerland. Switzerland should stay more neutral and less, because there's been talk about them joining NATO. And, I don't think they really need it. I don't know why they would jump in there. I mean, it would be a very positive thing for NATO, of course, but I don't know if it would be a very positive thing for Switzerland. Switzerland being independent seems to be a better way to go. So, someone's talking about from the Club of Growth, totes winning record. What's that? David McIntosh, Club for Growth president, is on there right now on one of the financial channels talking about the success of supply side economics, and Arthur Laffer, and how basically they're going to grow the economy, and unfortunately this last administration doesn't really have much interest in growing the economy. They've been growing government, and so we've gone now 2 years and 1/4, so basically 9 quarters, almost 2.5 years, with no growth in the private sector, just only government jobs or medical jobs tied to the government, being paid by the government, that type of thing. All right, from there, where do we go from there? Let's jump over to, and you can see also, let's just finish off Swiss. You can see still in weekly buys, still in daily buys, getting up to the bottom end of that range that we think could be the range that it bounces around. In other words, it kind of bangs up against the 90s and then comes low 90s, like 99, 90 and 50, 90.30, I don't know, something like that, 90 right around there, then rolls over again. What's this coast? Oh yeah, there's a. It seems like they're supporting Tim Scott. No, I'm sorry, Scott from Florida as the head of he's going to be head of the Senate, and so because there's a race between Scott, Cornyn, and Thune, and looks like Scott has got the support, or has the votes. So, and Scott is and we call him a supply side businessman, was former governor. Let's see. Yeah. Huh. Right. Now, Scott is a very solid senator, and he's going to be way more functional than McConnell. Yep, Rick Scott. Yeah, I think Rick Scott is going to be the man. We'll see. All right. Right from there, we go over to the yen. See the yen getting a red and a green this morning. You can see it's trying to break down a little bit. That's always positive for the yen. When it's going up like that, that means that it's losing against the dollar. And when it's drifting down like it did from here down to there, it was gaining against the dollar. You see we're in a weekly buy, so obviously that hurts the yen and helps the dollar. Let's see now. From there, go take a look at the great experiment. There it is right there. And since we looked at this, since it's a euro Turkish lira, we'll look at the euro again. You can see it's down at the lows. And then you can see here, there's the Turkish lira, and it's at its lows. And, we're in that 36.60 area. Not bad. It's a lot better than being at 40. That's for sure. And it's been hovering as you can see when we show you, it's been hovering down here in this area from the 3650 area to basically the 38, almost the 39 area basically, and you had this one spike that got up to 40. Right there, there's, yeah, and you can see right there, South African Rand. And you can see right there, weekly buy, which, usually, when the South African Rand, which is the probably second most powerful brick, or maybe first in some ways because it trades in the open market, and the yen doesn't, not the yen, the yuan, the Chinese yuan does not, and that always makes things confusing. It's just a converter more than it is a actual floating currency. So that is always somewhat of a confusion when you try to compare. It's like what the old saying about comparing apples and oranges. Just because they're both round doesn't mean they taste the same. And that's the problem with the South African Rand compared to the South African Rand is a floating currency. It seems to be locked more around the metals market because it's a very large producer of gold and silver, especially gold. And then at the same time, the other is kind of, the Chinese yuan is a fixed currency. It's fixed to the dollar. And so you're really looking at the dollar more than you're looking at the yuan, since it doesn't float in the market, so it's not being influenced by, let's say, investors and buyers and sellers and so forth. It's not it's influenced solely by the People's Bank of China, because they set the price every day. So that is that is definitely kind of a disappointment, I guess you could say. It would be nice if they were going to be, if the Chinese yuan was going to be if it was an independent currency, it would be wonderful to be able to watch it, and then you could understand the strength or weakness of the country itself. But due to the fact that it's fixed, and it's not only fixed, but it's fixed to the dollar, so we're really just looking at a dollar thing, and it doesn't float. If it floated, let's say they said, okay, we're going to keep it fixed to the dollar in a range. And so when you saw it leave the range because there was more buyers than sellers, or vice versa, there was more sellers than buyers, then we'd be able to say, okay, we understand how China itself is doing. But instead, we don't have that, because they announce every day what price the yuan is traded at. And then that's it. Now, you probably have an international one that's floating around in the interbank market, but no one seems to want to talk about that, only me, where it's definitely trading at a higher price. So in other words, if the currency keeps on reflecting weakness, I guess you could say, then what would happen is, in other words, imagine if it's 12 or 13 or 14 to the dollar instead of 7 point something, as it's fixed by the government itself, then all of a sudden your GDP drops, your reserves drop, your values all drop, comparing it to other currencies. So that's why they keep it fixed, and it's not much of an indicator, unfortunately, just not much of an indicator. All right, from there, where do we go from? Let's have a sip of water. There we go. All right, from there, let's take a look at the metals complex. Right there. And right there's gold. You see it's down, which kind of makes sense when you look at the, South African Rand. It's rising. As it's rising, usually gold goes down. It's not totally locked to that, but it used to be more locked to it, let's say that, but unfortunately the politics down there really has the currency moving in many, many more reactionary type moves, more than anything else. Now that they have a coalition government, the ANC, for the first time since Nelson Mandela, is not the sole power anymore down there. All right. So from there, this is probably the first time that the Zulu voting bloc is actually aligned with the ANC and the South African Party. All three of them are together now. Matter of fact, there's a fourth party, which is another tribe that also they used to be full voters in the old South Africa because basically apartheid is designed to give illegal aliens half a vote. That's what that's all about. It has nothing to do with race. All right. Let's move on to the next currency. All right, I'm sorry, metals, and that is, let's go take a look at silver. And we'll see right there. Silver is doing the same thing as gold, showing just a little weakness there. It's in a weekly sell from Friday. This is already melting down even more. I mean, they took it up to that 35 area, and bang. Now that Mr. Trump is in, it's down in the 31 area. You see it's at 31.34 as we speak. So the pressure is on there. It's down $3.50 from that 35 area. Huh. From there, what is Colombia doing? Colombian students plan anti-Veterans Day protest. What is wrong with them? All right. From there, we go over to copper, because that is like looking in the eyes of China. And you see, look at the last 4 days, or for sure the last 3 days. There was the election day, the day after the election. There was Thursday. There's Friday, and here is Monday. And you see the wild moves compared to all this other. Copper, obviously trying to tell us. I mean, watching copper is better than watching the yuan. When the copper is dropping, we know China seems to be having problems, and vice versa. When copper is rising, basically, it shows you the strength in the Chinese market itself. Then we'll take a look at platinum. There's the platinum. It is trying to curve up a little bit. We keep on thinking this is going to overperform the metals complex. It's got its little base going on here in the 975 area. You see that right now it's 981. It's got a green and a red going on. It's been in the sell right there, but it hasn't really gone down, and it's in a weekly sell from up in here. So, overall, the action in platinum, I guess they're going to have to get a grip on what is going on in the U.S. markets, and then we'll see if we get platinum at least 50% of gold. Right now it's almost 60 some odd percent off. Wow. Strange. They just showed Oprah Winfrey, the billionaire TV host, was paid $1 million to support Harris. Buying votes. How cool. All right. So there it is. That's the platinum. From the platinum, we zip over to, let's go to the oil market, and we'll do that on the trading platform itself. All right, right there. You see there's the crude again. We looked at that, and you can see it's trying to move down. Let's go over to the South Africa. South African. Let's go over to the not West Texas, North Sea oil, the Brent. Let's take a look at Brent this morning. See how that's going. Right there. Look at that. You see it's pushing into this weekly sell again, as we talked about last week, figuring that this was just a dead cat bounce thing. And you see it's breaking down there. You can see on Friday they closed in the daily sell. Today they're in the daily sell again. Same thing with, we'll go back to West Texas Intermediate. There. See the same thing. 2 days in the sell, pushing right back into the weekly sell. All right, now let's take a look at the heating oil that heats the airplanes up in the sky, heats their engines up, the trucks that deliver to the stores, and any other diesel machine and tractors, and for farming. And at the same time, it heats homes in the Northeast here in the United States. Is a very popular product to heat your house. And you see that pushing back into the sell, and at the same time, you can see it's a second day in a daily sell. All right, now from there, let's take a look at the energy company down in Spain, who seems to be totally connected to this whole thing. This is, natural gas. Let's get the natural gas up on there too. Here's natural gas. Natural gas trying to pop up. We have red dots, so no buy yet, but you can see now we're pushing back into that sell this morning. So the pressure is still on the natural gas, which we expect it to be. Where's it trading right now? Let's make it the whole screen. You get a better price out of it. So that's today. They're popping it up, no doubt. It's at 280. Let's see, where is it? It's trading at 286 as we speak, battling its way up to, that's the 301 area. Back here, the contract was as high as $3.40. So they've gone from 340 down to 251, which is an 89-cent drop. And now we're popping up a little bit, a lot of it, I guess you could say. We'll see how it does today. But there it is today, showing lots of strength. We just need green dots, and it'll be putting it into the. Well, the problem is also we're pushing cleanly through the weekly sell this morning already. So you wouldn't want to take a long to begin with. From there, we'll take a look at the Spanish company, which I would think would be a little bit firmer because of the way natural gas is up today. Right there. Ooh. See, just on the edge of sell. And you can see it's trying to lift. It's doing a little turn there. It's still in a weekly sell for days. And you can see it's giving us green dots here yesterday and Friday and today. But none of the algorithms, you can see this algorithm right here. See, it's still minus. And when you look at that with the weekly, it says basically do not worry about the upside at the moment. It's telling us that the more action is coming is on the downside, which will mean cheaper stock, which means lower prices in natural gas, which is really nice, since I know that we've seen snowstorm in Saudi Arabia, and the deserts all of a sudden had snow caps and so forth, and we've seen the same thing in Austria 2 months ago, the earliest snow people have seen in Europe in a long time, and temperatures are definitely colder in Europe than what they've normally been. So as long as they can keep these prices down, people will not freeze as much. From there, we go take a look at ExxonMobil here in the States. Another big producer, manufacturer, the whole bit. Here's right there. You can see it's got a bunch of green dots. It's been in the daily buy, I believe, from the 4th. Let's just recycle this for a second. So that has been trying to tell us that they want to push it up. Let's see, is that the 4th right there? That is 28th. So no, we're still stuck in a sell there. There's a 4th right there. So we were in a, let's bring that back. You see we were in a green dot, but in the algorithm itself was in a minus. It pushed it into the buy, okay, 3 days ago. That was on Thursday. So it went into a buy on Thursday, but we're in a weekly sell. Now this morning, we're starting to move into a little weekly buy there, as you can see. So now you could, if it's settles like that today, then you can get long it. You can play with it on the long side through derivatives and so forth. And then especially with the green line trying to break through the manifold, that's usually a warning sign that it's definitely going to try to fight to stay in the weekly buy. Unfortunately, the fast algorithm is breaking down still, so I'm not totally convinced. I think we all believe here in the States at this point that energy prices are going to drop. They're not going to rise. And that completes the energy look. If anybody has anything they'd like to ask, fire it away and we'll go after it. From there, let's take a look at the global markets this morning. All looking very firm. Let's see. Everybody up and happy. Hooray for growth. That's what it really says. First one we'll take a look at is let's look at Tokyo. There's Tokyo. I see the pressure on it going into the day. But it was in a weekly buy last week. It's in a weekly buy right now. And it went into the buy there on the, what's that, the 6th? Which is right there. And so it's been in the daily buy, and now it's trying to push into the daily sell today. We'll see. I guess that's the settlement. Let's refresh that. Take a better look at it. Right there. So there is. Let's see, I think this is like the 3rd. Is that, no, that's the 7th. Okay, yeah. So this is last night. So it closed in a sell on the algorithm. It closed on the sell right there. And at the same time, it's playing with a weekly buy. So it's a neutral situation at the moment. Let's look at from there. We'll go over to, let's go see what Shanghai is doing. And that's got daily buy going on for a while in here. Everybody was looking for we talked about it last week in the beginning of the week, and the week before we talked about how we thought that the new stimulus was around the corner, and it was. The stimulus happened Friday. They announced it. They have another stimulus of like 1.4 trillion won. But the problem is that we've shown you the numbers. We really need to see, to be honest. I mean, if you're really just sharpening the pencil and trying to find out the perfect number for them to stimulate, it would be about a little over 27 trillion won. Yeah, 27 trillion won. And so far, they're only announcing 2.8 trillion won over the next few years. So there's not a lot of, they're doing some tweaking and they're trying to adjust, trying to find a stimulus on some level, on some way, but overall they don't really seem to have the resources to stimulate their own economy. They're waiting for the Americans to come do it. That's they're like a colony of ours when it comes to finance. It's the weirdest thing, because they really are really battling with us at the same time. You would think that if you needed so much from one country, you wouldn't battle with them, but they seem to want to battle with us. All right, from there, we shoot over to, we'll go to South Korea. There it is right there. This is the Kospi in South Korea. See the pressure on it. Days of sells, weeks of sells. And we'll see as time goes on. Let's make it full screen so you can get a better appreciation of it. That's the unwind of the $20 trillion pairs trade that Tokyo had on. It seems to have, everybody bounced from it, and then from there, first they sold off from it, then they bounced from it, and now they seem to be like a triangle. It's like some type of triangle. This is like the 1, this is the 2, the 3, the 4. There's your 5. and then it's trying to break down, and there was the first breakdown. Going the way of the two, that's usually the way it works. That's the W.D. Gann's theory, and there's also R.N. Elliott's theory. So from there, we'll go over to Taiwan. Right there, there's Taiwan. You see Taiwan's holding up very firm. They benefited enormously from the American election. And so you can see that. Let's just show you that. See the way they have bounced. It was the unwind of the $20 trillion pairs trade or carry trade from Japan. And then it bounced, and it's doing the opposite. It's not looking down too bad at all. It got back down to the original area, that, like it's become a support, and now they're popping up again. And it's trying to climb into the weekly buy, no less. From there, we'll jump over to, let's see what Hong Kong's doing. We've seen, everybody is waiting over there in China to see if they'll do anything more than the little that they're doing of stimulating. That's probably why we're seeing copper weak this morning. But let's take a look at Hong Kong. Well, here's the Singapore Straits Times. Let's see what that, because I really believe that they understand what's going on. See that strength in there? They must know about the increase ahead of time, because they're probably wired in, being, it's that proximity thing. They're a Pacific nation trading, one of the top trading nations in the Pacific, so they must have contacts there. And then at the same time, they pay attention to what's going on in Hong Kong. So let's take a look at Hong Kong. But there's strength in the Singapore, and it anticipated it. I just thought that they were going to do like a 5-year plan. We would see so much more healthy action from it, but no, we really didn't see anything there. Here is let's see, let's find Hong Kong. There it is, right there, the Hang Seng. You see, Hong Kong now is doing the opposite. It's backing off compared to Singapore or Shanghai. And you see it pushed into the sell on Friday. And it was in a sell for 4 weeks, and it's trying to climb into the buy today. We'll see. And you can see the daily is trying to lift up on the algorithm right there. So we always figured that between Singapore and Taiwan and Hong Kong will kind of give us an idea. When we see strength coming out of those particular currencies and stock indices, we expect to possibly see some real action on the upside in the others. So, in other words, they're anticipating more sugar high stimulus. And then from there, let's go to Jakarta this morning. Since the oil markets are backing off, let's take a look and see what Jakarta is looking like. Right there. You see it's been kind of drifting down. The algorithm's been in a sell for 10 days, 11 days. Weekly sell, 3 weeks. This week it's starting off as the 3rd week. So a lot of pressure there, which would make sense. We can take a look at Aramco too. Right now, that would make sense to look at the Aramco. Now, Aramco, we saw their earnings come out a week and a half ago, and everything was pretty fine except for the manufacturing side. In other words, the what do they call that when you distill in oil terms? They have a name for it. The refining. The refining side lost 15%, but when it came to the overall sales and so forth, they're holding on pretty well, and you can see the strength of it. Here's the and it's in a weekly buy for a 2nd week. It's been in a daily buy, all week long. Nice, picked up the positive action that was coming from it, and it's trading in the 27. Where's it at now? Oh, it's at 28 now today, like it was yesterday. 28.04, 28.05. It's come up from the 26.95 area in a matter of just 6 days. I mean, they were anticipating, obviously, look, in the end result is that Saudi Arabia benefits by a growing economy, a world economy. So even if the oil prices go down, the cost of production is so low, this Aramco makes money. And so they're stepping up, and the weakness could have been really reflecting just the potential of Harris winning versus Trump. Nothing more than that. And then from there, we'll go take a look at what I like. Let's not go to Rocket's red glare right here at the moment, but let's go take a look at the metals manufacturing in Saudi Arabia to get a better flavor of what's going on there. But without a doubt, Aramco is telling us that that things are looking bright. Let's put it that way. Things are looking bright. Now let's get the full screen. It's trapped in this big triangle. This is definitely nowhere near as profitable as the oil is. That's for sure. But it's not acting in the worst of ways. Let's just show you some of the other sides of it too. You can see here it's been in a weekly sell for weeks now. This is going on a 5th week in a sell. So that pressure we see in it is the algorithm's picking up on it. You can see on the daily algorithm, same situation. Going back, from what is that? Let's do this. Let's go back and look at it. I'll refresh it, and then we'll take a look at it. All that red, here it comes now. So you can see here, there's been a lot of red. Let's make it a little bit bigger. A lot of red all the way back into early October. And you can see right there, let's see if we can go like this. So I have to refresh it again because I enlarged it. So let's do this. There we go. Let's see what the date is there. It's probably like October 13th or 14th or something like that. There it is, October 5th. And so when we take that and move it over like so, to match up with the bar chart itself, there's your October 13th. There's your October 2nd. You can see all that pressure on it. You can see here October 5th, which is right there. Right there. There's the October 5th. It went into the sell. A lot of sell with a red dot that never got it into the buy. And then it gave us 3 days of strength here, which is the 27th. So jumped into a little buy, but the problem was it was in a weekly sell, so you just knew it was a dead cat bounce. That's what the algorithm's telling you. And sure enough it was, and it starts to back off again. So you can see here, that was the dead cat bounce. Where is that? Right here. 25th, 26th. Yep. Dead cat bounce. And it breaks down and falls, and then falls again and falls again. It keeps on trying to challenge that support area. But overall, that's the manufacturing of product. Not oil or refining product, but it's just a company, a major metal company, manufacturing of industrial, steel and so forth, I guess, aluminum, whatever they're manufacturing, the growth of the country. Now, when we see the world growing, we'll probably see, the metal companies start to take off too at the same time. Let's jump over to, as I call it, Rocket's red glare. It's like the Star Spangled Banner in the United States. And that is the Tel Aviv exchange. It has all that rockets being fired at it constantly. From different parts of the world. You can see it's spiked up today. It's been in a sell for, has it been in a sell for a few days? Let's see. Let's give this a refresh. You see it's in a weekly buy for a while now. So it went into the daily buy. Where did it go into the daily buy? I guess it went into the daily buy here on the 10th. 10th? Oh, 28. I'm sorry, 28. So it went into the daily buy right there. Confirmed it here, so you could be long here, and it's been long. And then it kept on giving us, I guess it gave us a sell signal. Where's that? That is on the 6th. And so the 6th, which was Friday, basically, the 7th, I guess you could say, right there. There's the 6th. There's the 7th. That's Friday. They closed the market, I think, on Thursday evening or Friday morning or something like that. So you can see there's the 3rd. So it couldn't go into a sell these days here, especially with it in a weekly buy. And you can see there, it pushed into the sell. There's the 6th, and then it jumps right to the 10th. Because it's like Saudi Arabia and so forth in the Middle East, they do Sunday through Thursday and take off Friday and Saturday, whereas here in our Western world, we do Saturday and Sunday. So Saturday seems to key in on all the societies together. And there's, that's what we're seeing here is this pop. You're not short for it. You're just sitting long or neutral. Either way, just sitting neutral, waiting for the next story to start. The next signal to tell you what to do, when to do it. All right, and then from there, we go take a look at Europa. Let's see what Europe is doing this morning, starting the week off. Oh, no, let's do this. Nifty 50. Nifty 50 right there. That's been feeling a lot of pressure since the beginning of the BRIC conference up in here, the discussion of it. This was the BRIC conference, and it's pressing down. And I guess we could take a look at, is there a South African Rand one? I'll have to look to see if they have the stock indice. Usually we just look at the gold. That seems to be the major product of South Africa. But ever since these nations got together with the BRIC conference, they're trying to be more responsible. We've talked about this. We welcome the BRICS to get involved in the world markets. As far as I'm concerned, if there's just like cryptos, another opportunity to have another way of delivering equity, transferring equity, the whole bet. Yep. Yeah, Qatar kicked out Hamas. How about that? Trump gets elected, they kick out Hamas out of nowhere. I guess they don't want to be tangled with Hamas anymore. And I understand Hezbollah is negotiating now, and the Lebanese army is going to take over the positions of Hezbollah in Lebanon now. All right. Things are changing for the peaceful way, not the war way. I like that. All right. Now from there, we shoot over to Europa. Let's just take let's go through Germany, since Germany seems to be going all over the place at the moment. I mean, there's a story out there today. They were saying like, what do they call it? Like, what was the words they used? A sovereign nation. They really feel like Germany's really not benefiting from the European Union, I guess. And you see here 3 weeks in a sell. You see it's lifting the last like 3 or 4 days, 3 days in particular, right there. You see, but it's still not taking out these highs there. But there was the election day. Is that the election day? Yeah, there's the 5th, and they sold it off that day. Then they lifted it up on Thursday. Friday they sold it off again. Today they're trying to lift it up again. So they're really having a confusion. They've lost. I guess the government is getting ready to declare elections again. They've lost the finance minister or the foreign minister or something of that nature. From there, we'll go over to Italy. Italy. Let's see, where's it at? Down here. Right there. Nope, that's it. FTSE Dubai. Let's take a look at, it's that one in Milan. The FTSE in Milan. There, no, that's not it. It's an MIB. MIB, where are you, MIB? There it is, right there, right underneath Hong Kong. See how Italy's doing. They seem to be they were interested in growth. You can see here it's in a weekly sell just from last week and this week starting. It's been in a daily sell for a few days in here just to match up with that. So we'll see if they start to change the direction on that. But it seems to be having the same problems as the German stock indice. See what the FTSE looks like this morning. Or maybe we should do Brussels. Let's do Brussels. I mean, Brussels just seems to be like the kind of reminds me of the Federal Reserve in many ways. You know, since Brussels is the heart of Europe at the moment, with the European Union being there. So you can see here it's trying to bounce up. Today it's got the algorithm's positive, but we've been in a weekly sell now for 4 weeks. This is starting the 4th week. So there's pressure more on the downside. It doesn't seem to be going anywhere particular. You can see it right. Let's make this bigger even. There it is right there. See that it's just trapped in this range at the moment. From there, we'll go take a look at the FTSE. Right there. See that pressure on it on Friday. You see they're trying to lift it up a little bit, but the algorithm is still minus. And you can see we're in a weekly sell going on a 4th week also. So it just keeps on, that consistency, it's not changing much, I'm not sure. Are they thinking maybe, you see how the European countries are not exactly exploding compared to the U.S. So you got to wonder if they're concerned about the idea of paying more for NATO. You would think that they'd be looking at it more in the sense of, wow, the war will end in Europe and then we can do capitalism. But they don't like capitalism. They'd like to do that socialism. So, without growth, you can't get out of your financial problems. You need to be in growth. From there, we'll go over and see what Paris looks like this morning. You see the CAC 40 right there. You see it's trying to lift up, just like the way the FTSE is. But it's in a sell, and it's got more sell algorithm going on. And you can see this is the 5th week in a weekly sell. So it's, again, a lot of issues, economic issues, policy issues, whereas the United States has resolved those things by putting Mr. Trump back into the office of the presidency-elect. We're not seeing that in Europe. All right. So from there, does that wrap up Europe? I think it does. That wraps up Europe. So from Europe, what's next? Let's go take a look at the U.S. markets. We'll show it to you. Let's see. We'll find it in a second. Right there. There's the Dow. Let's take a look at the Dow this morning. The Dow's very firm. Last 3 days have been very firm. You can see here daily buys. Went into the weekly buy last week from our action. You can see it's very strong this morning. And the S&P 500. Let's see if we can find you the S&P 500 right there. S&P 500 doing the same thing. Showing that strength right there, same way. And you can see, 5 days of daily buys and 2 full weeks. And you can see it's 5 out of 6 weeks it's been in a daily buy. And then let's take a look at the Tech 100, and then we'll call it a day here. And we got to put a title up on this thing too at the same time. Tech 100. Let's see if we can find it right there. There it is. Tech 100 or Nasdaq 100. See, same thing, firmness there. See, the algorithm does want to roll over, but so far no good. And we're also 5 out of the last 6 weeks in daily buys. All right, traders, we're out of here. We're going to come up with a title, and we'll send that over to you in a few minutes. So this is Doc from North America saying, happy trails to you until we meet again, which will be tomorrow, Tuesday. Happy trails to you, to all our trading friends. And it is Veterans Day here in the States. And so, there's a lot of, celebrating of veterans from foreign wars, domestic wars, or not domestic, but foreign wars with battle ribbons, and then those who have just been domestically in the military but have not been in a combat zone. But today is the celebration of our veterans. And there's the Dukascopy website there, 20 years of trading with Swiss precision. I like that. That's a great one. I love that. That is really good. 20 years of trading with Swiss precision on Dukascopy. I like that. As it says, thank you for trusting us for past 20 years. We dedicated to delivering Swiss quality service, leading innovation to create the best trading experience worldwide. That's very good. All right, traders, we will catch you all tomorrow. Same time, same channel. So this is Doc from North America saying, happy trails to you until we meet again. Happy trails to you, to all our trading friends. Later, later.